All right, Mike Coppinger. Mike Coppinger, the man, the myth, the legend. Normally is actually quite good when it comes to reporting boxing news. Normally gets the lowdown pretty quick and normally has it out then even quicker. Has tweeted that Canelo Alvarez, boxing's top star, is in the process of finalising a deal for a super middleweight world championship defence against Edgar Berlanga on September the 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, sources tell ESPN. Apparently this will go head to head with UFC 306. He's gone on to say PBC will lead with Matchroom involved on the Berlanga side, Amazon Prime Video pay-per-view, with the Zone also offering the event similar to Canelo Munguia. While Canelo will be a major favourite, the Mexican-Puerto Rican rivalry should be a commercial success on Mexican Independence Weekend. So I just want to touch on, or let's just talk about this fight as a whole, right? So we found out a few weeks ago that Berlanga, Charlo, and then seemingly out of nowhere, Chris Eubank Jr., his name started coming into the fold. And just on what Coppinger was saying there about the Mexican-Puerto Rico thing, when Eubank Jr.'s name came into it, I was kind of thinking like, okay, and then he signed with Boxer, and then I was like, okay, well, chances are probably Eubank and Boxer are not going to want to put him in with Canelo like that when he's been inactive for a year. Boxer will be wanting to try and make Eubank Jr., if he's not already, a pay-per-view star again. And a loss, even to Canelo, especially if it's a devastating loss, that's going to hinder that. That's going to hinder that big time. So I kind of figured Eubank Jr., although it seems an interesting fight to an extent, you'd expect Canelo would win that fight pretty comfortably, it would still be a fight that, you'd watch. But then you have to think of it from a business point of view, certainly in the States, because in the UK you would look at that and think, oh, Eubank Jr. is fighting Canelo. Oh, wow, that's good, and you tune in. But in the States, I mean, Chris Eubank Jr., who is he really? He's not, it's not like you could even say, oh, he's a world champion. It's a unification of such, he's not any of that. Whereas Berlanga, you will have that big Puerto Rican fan base that Berlanga has going up against the Mexican fan base on a Mexican Independence Weekend. That will just make for good results. That will just make, in terms of pay-per-view buys, in terms of finances and stuff like that, that will just commercially, that would be a big success, I would imagine. I think when Canelo fought Cotto, that was many years ago, nearly 9 years ago now. It's a lot. It doesn't seem like that long ago. It really doesn't. That did pretty well. I don't know. It didn't top 1 million buys, which is strange considering they were both cash cows. Like, they were both very big names at the time. I think Canelo's star really shined bright with the Triple G rivalry, to be fair. Like, it was already shining bright prior to that, but it really went to another level after that. And that did very well commercially. I see no reason why this one wouldn't do very well commercially. In terms of the fight itself, I don't know, is Berlanga, is he a mandatory? Is he with the WBA or the WBO? Is he a mandatory with one of them? I'm pretty sure he might be. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But Berlanga, I've said it before about him. I remember when he was with Top Rank and he amassed that record. I think it was 16-0 with 16 knockouts all in the first round. And on paper, that looked pretty good. And certainly what I will say with Berlanga, he does appear to have really good punching power. That seems to be there. Although he went through that phase when he moved up from the competition he was fighting. And I mean, the competition who he was knocking out in the first round, they were just abysmal. And then he started fighting some guys who were a lot better, like a lot better. And he was getting a lot less knockouts. I mean, even against Jason Quigley, who was a middleweight, and I've seen Terrell Johnson beat up Jason Quigley over 8-9 rounds years ago. I thought, oh, Jay Quigley's going to get decimated. And yeah, he was down several times, but he gave as good as he got, to be fair, and he won a couple of rounds in there, which was kind of, I knew Berlanga was never amazing. I knew he was never going to set the world alight, but that was a worry against someone like Jay Quigley, who I thought he was kind of a British level, a bit higher than British level, maybe fringe European, to be going and dropping him and beating him on points, but to be giving away rounds, I was like, that's not ideal. That's not ideal. I think Berlanga, Canelo was going to have a harder time missing than he will anything else. I just never really rated Berlanga too highly. Defense isn't amazing, doesn't appear to be the fastest, it just appears to be a big, heavy-hitting super middleweight. And, that's done him so far so good. Although saying that, he was down in the fight he had against, I can't remember, I think he's Argentinian, I can't remember his name. He fought Billy Joe Saunders on the undercard of, was it KSI fight? KSI Logan Paul, I think that was when Devin Haney fought in the same card. And he was down in that fight with Berlanga. A lot of people felt that he lost it. That was on the undercard of Fury Wilder 3. And yeah, I just, from then I was kind of, well, even before that, I was kind of like, all right, once this guy steps up, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. And yeah, as he's gone through the levels, he's not really impressed me. His last win out against McCroy was kind of, just all right against the guy who I think even McCroy has seen better days. And even then I was like, yeah, Berlanga looked just okay, but not at any sort of level to be ready for Canelo Alvarez. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It'll be on Amazon pay-per-view in the US. I was going to say UK there, but probably going to be on DAZN. Hopefully not pay-per-view in the UK. And yeah, that's pretty much that. In terms of Benavidez, we should know this week if he plans to stick around at 168 pounds and go through with that mandatory, because obviously for me, that's the fight I wanted. I wanted to see Canelo in there with Benavidez. I would love to see him in September going in there with Benavidez. It won't be. It just comes down to, will he stay at 168? And if he stays at 168, he is the mandatory for the WBC title. However, being mandatory is all well and good. It's great. But until the WBC call it, which they haven't yet anyway, it's kind of like, all right, you're mandatory, but like, what's going to happen? What can you do? This is nothing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, he may decide, stay at 175, go for a crack at Beterbiev versus Bivol winner. To be honest with you, you're probably more likely to get a crack at that than you would be Canelo anytime soon, I would imagine. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I guess it's kind of the best of a bad bunch, really, when you think about it. You look at super middleweight and you see guys like Dave Morrell, you see guys like Benavidez who are looking to go up to 168, and Canelo is comfy at 168. That's probably his kind of limit in terms of divisions to go up. So he could stick around there for God knows how long. And when you look at the guys from 160, there's no one really who could move up that would really bother. You'd really look and think, oh, he's going to put the fear of God into Canelo. Not really. You hear Crawford mentioning Canelo still, and that seems to be the fight that he's still targeting. I've said it, the more I think about that fight, the more kind of intrigued it is. But I still... and here's the thing. Crawford is so talented that you could look at that fight and say, I could see a scenario where he beats Canelo, but I just think the weight jump, even from 154 to 168 pounds, could just be too big for Crawford. And we do have to take into consideration that Terence Crawford he's in his mid to late 30s now. Like, he's not getting any younger. He's older than Canelo Alvarez. So Crawford, as good as he is, and I'm not saying this will happen against Israel Madrimov, I'm not saying it will, but you could have a performance like Errol Spence. Fast forward a year, been inactive, took no damage, but you'll notice that little bit of deterioration. He'll just slow that little bit. And I wonder, would that happen? Maybe not in his next fight, but in a fight, in the next 3 fights maybe. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts. Canelo, Berlanga, looks like that's the fight we're going to get September 14th. Are you happy? Are you unhappy? Are you indifferent? Do you even care about Canelo at this point? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already.